welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. So this is going to be episode 2 of the Discord.js series for the end of 2023. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about middlewares, we're going to be talking about monitors, and tasks. So in the last episode, we were talking about events and we were talking about commands. We had got all that figured out. And I did briefly talk about middlewares. Middlewares, if you didn't really understand what I was talking about, middlewares is more of a term used for web development, more specifically with the backend. It's basically a function that handles the in between the call and execution of the routing or the path. So it's often used for like authentication. That's the example. If you ever mess around with Express.js, then you kind of seen like some methods or showing some like passport, for example, being used as a middleware. So it's basically just in between the call when you're calling on something and the execution when something's being executed. That's basically the best way to understand what middleware is. Now we also have monitors. The monitors in our case is just a fancy name to say, hey, it's just breaking up certain things to focus on this one thing. Example, we're going to have a monitor for slash commands. It's only going to be searching for slash commands, and then we will run it into there, and we can basically ship that out. And in that, we can always put like some debugs in there if we need to. So if we're trying to debug a certain command, we can just literally put console.debug or logger.debug inside that monitor, and it'll give us the information we need. It's basically just to check on certain things before the actual execution of the command. So similar to a middleware in a way. However, it's not really going to do anything. It's just passing it along, giving us a clean area to place our console.infos or logger.infos or console.logs, console.errors, all these things. That's where that will be. Now, task, the best way to understand them is anything that is in the background. So we have everything in the foreground, basically. So that would be our events, that would be our commands. Those are kind of in the foreground, meaning that it's what you kind of see. Now, in the background, we're going to have our tasks. So tasks will be something like any kind of calculations that we need to be happening, or if we're going to have like a stopwatch, or we're going to have a timer command. We can run that countdown inside a task. And so that's kind of the point of the task, is to run anything in the background that isn't necessarily involved in the bot in the foreground, basically. I hope that all makes sense. It makes more sense once I show you exactly how we're doing everything. But let's just start. So we're going to start with middlewares. So let's do that one first. So we're going to go into our base and we're going to create a new file. It's going to be called base middleware. Okay. And it's going to be, of course, a default class. It's going to be an abstract class. It'll be base middleware. There we go. So we're of course going to have a name because we need something to identify this middleware. There we go. We're going to have it disabled as well. This will be Boolean. And then we're also going to have a variable called next. However, instead of it passing in like a variable type, it's actually going to be a function. And we're going to call this to be next, and we're going to add a ... args. It's going to be any type. And this will be it'll be a promise, basically. It'll be a promise, and it'll be unknown because we don't know what the type could be. So the point of the next here is basically to allow us to pass things into the next area. So once we're done with the middleware, if it passes, usually you use middlewares for like permissions, authentication. Once that passes, then we need to know where we need to go to next. We're going to pass everything into here and we're going to send it out. That's basically what it is. Now let's create our constructor. We're going to have our name in here, of course. Then what we're going to do is our next. And that, of course, is going to be like this. That is wrong. It should be that. Yep. An unknown. And we'll have our disable. Of course, this is going to be default to false. There we go. This dot name is equals to name. This dot next is going to be next. And this dot disabled is equals to disabled. Okay. And we'll, of course, we're going to have our invoke. So public async invoke dot args any type. And it's not. Okay, so instead of having be not yet implemented like this, we're actually going to be doing something different. We're actually going to make this to be the type of Boolean. Actually, no, this needs to be a promise of a Boolean. Okay. So now we need to just say return, we're going to return true. There we go. So why do we have promise here? Well, because of async, it will always default to a promise. Now, the promise has a generic type, which accepts these a variable type, which Boolean is. So that's why it would look like this. It's pretty simple. But we have all that. Let's start getting our getters here and our setters. So public get name. There we go. Public get next. And public get disabled. Public set disabled. Oh, that is wrong. It needs to be like this. And then disabled Boolean. There we go. So it'll look like that. So let's make a middleware, for example. We'll do command permissions here. So we're going to make a new folder called middlewares. Middlewares. And it's going to be command permissions. .ts. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna make this look a bit neater, so I'm gonna delete that, and I'm actually going to do is create a folder called command, and we're gonna have the file to be called permissions. There we go. Because we could have more middleware that's specific to the command, so this makes it a little bit easier when we're trying to like format stuff. We kind of did that with our events with the interaction, because we could have multiple, and it just makes it look a bit neater. Okay, export default class is going to be command permission middleware. Okay, extends a base middleware. There we go. Constructor. Then we're going to have our super. So this is going to be called command permissions. There we go. And I'm also going to indent here. Put a comma there. Okay. Now we're going to put our next function in here. So this is going to be an async. And then in here we're going to have our command, which will be a base command. And we're also going to have our ctx, which will be our command interaction. Or actually, we could just make this be interaction, and then after the middleware passes, we can create it. So we're going to do that. Command interaction. There we go. So, of course, what we're going to do here, let's just create our ctx. So we're going to do let ctx equals a new command context. And this will take in our interaction there. And now we just await command.invoke ctx. Okay. So once we're done here, it's just going to pass our next. Okay, perfect. We're just going to do is a public async invoke. Okay. And we'll have our command base error interaction. Yep. There we go. Actually, we don't need the arrow. Here. We're just going to default to true here. There we go. So this is going to be handling all of our permissions. So when we're checking if a user has permissions or if the bot has permissions, that's kind of what happens here. So let's start with the user permissions. So first things first is we need to identify that it is if the command has user permissions. So a way we could just do that is if command dot user permissions. Is it user permission or permissions? Oh boy, let's find that out right now. Let's see here. Commands here, what's going on? So I have user, there we go. That's what's going on. Okay, so we have right there, and we could just say size, or actually it's the length because it's an array. Length is greater than 0. There we go, because we already said that, hey, user permissions is just an empty array. Okay. Okay, so we have that. Now what we're going to do here is for, or actually let's do this. We're gonna make a variable for the members, so we don't have to recreate it. So what we're gonna say is const member is equals to it would be interaction dot guild dot members dot fetch, and that will be interaction dot user dot id. And I'm just going to put that there, and I'm also going to wait this. And there we go. Next we're going to do is a for loop. So we're going to say for let oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get something out. For let perms of command dot user permissions. There we go. Now we're going to do is an if member dot we're actually going to say not. So if member does not, or we're going to check permissions, has, okay, it's going to be perms. There we go. And we're going to return false. And then we're also going to do is in the wait interaction dot reply. And we're going to just make this empirical. There we go. So it's going to be true. And we're going to put into our content. It's going to be you do not have permission to use this command. You must have the permission of, and we're going to say perms. And we'll also do is a little bit formatting here. There we go. Perfect. And we'll also put that there. Okay. So if they have permissions, then it's good. Now, why didn't we just say it, why don't we just do if member.permissions.has the permissions or perms, and why did we make this a not? Well, it's because we are already going to assume that's true. We kind of want this to be running in a list. We want to check if the user has permissions, and then we're going to check to see if the bot has permissions. We don't want to exit out if the member has the permissions. We don't want to exit out just yet, because we need to check if the bot has permissions. Because remember, the bot is also being treated as a user. It's basically a special user. So, that's basically the reason why we're doing it like this. So, next thing we're going to do is if command dot self permissions dot length is greater than 0. Then we're going to say const me is equals to await interaction dot guild dot members dot fetch me. There we go. Now for let perms of command dot self permissions if me dot, or not me dot permissions dot has perms. Then we're going to do is await interaction dot reply. we're going to say it's empirical, so it's going to be true. And content, I do not have the correct permissions to do this. Okay, and I need to say I must have the permission of, and that would be perms. There we go. So we have that all figured out now. And we also need to return false here. Okay, so that's how all that needs to be happening there. So basically what's happening here is first we're going to check see if command.user's permissions is greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, that means that there is a permission check that we need to check. Okay? So then we're going to create the member variable, and then we're going to go through the list of permissions that we need to check for. And if the member does not have that permission, then we're going to return false, meaning that we do not want to proceed further, and we're going to send a reply to them saying that, hey, you do not have this permission, you must have this. Okay? And then after that, if that check works, then it's going to proceed on and it's going to check for the self permissions, aka the bot. We're going to check to see if the bot has the permissions that it needs. So if that array is greater than 0, meaning that there is a permission check we need to do, then we're going to proceed into this if statement. Then we're going to just do the exact same thing, but instead of the member, we're just using the bot here. And then if we don't have the permissions, then we're going to say something saying, hey, we don't have the permissions, I need this. And then we'll return false saying that, hey, we do not want to proceed on. If both of these work, then that means it's going to get down to this return true, meaning that, hey, we are good to go, let's proceed on to our next function. Okay? So that is basically what's going on here. So all we gotta do is now go to our cache and we're going to load our middlewares and handle them. So let's do that. So we're just going to go right here and we're going to do our load first. So public load, or it needs to be async load middleware. Okay. There we go. And then I just need to check how we're going to load them in. Basically the exact same way. So logger.info loading middlewares. Okay. Const pth this dot creates path, and then we're going to do folder paths dot, and we don't have our middleware folder in here just yet, so let's go to our constant folder and we're going to create our middleware. So we're going to put that right here, middleware folder, middlewares. There we go. Back to here, and we're going to say middleware now. There we go. Const files equals globe.sync pth for let file of files. Const, and then we're going to say default mid equals await import this dot fix path folder path dot root folder. Okay, or actually not root. It's going to just be file. There we go. It's basically the exact same thing as we always done. Const middleware is equals to a new mid as base middleware. Okay. Now we're missing something here, I realized, and it's going to be our collection variable for this. So we're going to put that in. So we're going to do private middleware collection. It's going to be a string, and it's going to be a base middleware. So it's going to be a new collection. There we go. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is if this middleware dot has middleware dot name, then we're going to do is this dot middleware dot set middleware dot name and middleware. There we go. And we're just gonna put in here. It's gonna be logger dot info. Successfully loaded this middleware dot size middlewares. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to handle our middleware, so let's do that. Not be right here. So we're going to do a public async handle middleware name string and then .args any. There we go. Now we're going to put our try catch in here. Error logger.error error and return null. Oh boy. Okay, now let's get our middleware. So let's do let middleware equals this dot middleware dot get name. Okay. And we're gonna check see if middleware exists. So if middleware does not exist, then we're gonna say logger.warn middleware name doesn't exist. Okay. And we're gonna return. Let results equals await middleware dot invoke dot args. Also, we need to include our disable. So if middleware dot disabled return logger dot warn middleware middleware dot name is disabled. There we go. Okay, so let result is equals to this. So that is the point of us returning Boolean, because we want to see if we can proceed on. If result is not true, then we're going to return. Okay. Also, we're going to await the middleware, and we're going to do next, and we're going to pass in .args. So you may be noticing that, hey, we're just passing this in. So doesn't that mean that the next and our middleware have to have the exact same thing? And that is true. That is, you would have to do that. If you notice in permissions, that's what we did. We literally just passed the exact same things in. Of course, the parameter names do not have to match. They can be something different. So you can name this to be CMD instead of command and have your invoke parameter for it to be command. That is totally fine. It's just the typings have to be correct and in the right places. Okay, so we have all that. Now let's go into our index real quick. And we're just going to await bot cache load our middleware. There we go. Next, let's go into our create event. We're going to basically see where it says right here. We're actually not going to await our command. We're going to await a bot cache handle middleware command permission. Actually, we can't do that because we don't have the command just yet. So that is actually going to go into our monitor. So let's actually start making our monitor then. So what we're going to do is a base monitor.ts. Okay. Create a default abstract class base monitor. There we go. Private name is going to be a string. Private disabled is going to be a boolean. We're going to have a private. I think that's about it that we need actually for that. So what we're going to do is a constructor name string, and we're going to have a disabled, which will be a boolean default to false. This name is equals to name. Disabled is equals to disabled. Public async invoke .args any, and then we're going to just say not yet implemented. There we go. Public get name name, and we're going to do our disabled get we go. Disabled boolean. There we go. So we have our monitor pretty much all set up. We're going to go into our cache real quick. We're going to go up here to our monitor's cache. We're going to say base monitor. There we go. And it was just real quick add in our load and our handle. We're not actually going to fill it just yet. We're just going to place them just as placeholders for right now. So load monitors. And we're going to do public async handle monitor name string and .args any. There we go. Now let's go back to our create event. Right here, we're going to do is the wait .cache.handle monitor, and this will basically be called slash command, and that'll be interaction. There we go. And now let's go to our modules. We're going to create a new folder and file. So we're going to call this to be monitors slash. It's going to be, we'll do slash commands. Actually, we can just say slash commands here. Or slash command.ts. There we go. Export default class. It'll be slash command monitor extends a base monitor. There we go. Now we'll just do our constructor super slash command public async invoke, and that'll be interaction command interaction. Okay, let command equals to a actually we don't even need to do that, I don't think, because we can, no, actually this will be going into our handle command, but I don't want to do that, so we're going to do that a little bit different in our cache. For our handle command, we're going to update that. So we're going to go up to here, and instead of passing name in, we're just going to do is a command base. There we go. And we don't need this anymore. And we'll do that check later, and what we'll do here is we already have our commands here, right here, but we can add in a find. So what we're going to do is public find command, that'll be name string, and I'll return this commands dot, it would be a get name. There we go. Go in here, we'll do in here is going to be let command equals bot cache dot find command interaction dot command name, and let's actually put this in a try catch. So we're going to do try and catch logger dot error, and we're going to put error in there and we'll return null. And we'll also need to import our logger. There we go. We'll move this over to here. There we go. Now that we have all of that, we're just going to check see if command exists. So if command, or if not command, and then we're just going to do is a return and logger. Actually, we don't need a logger here. Actually, we do because we're doing slash command, so we would need it because there could be a problem. Command, or it would be interaction dot command name doesn't seem to exist. Okay, but if it does, then we're just going to await bot cache dot handle middleware. There we go, and that's going to put in command permission. There we go, and we're going to put in our command and our interaction. There we go. So now what will happen is it's going to go, let's see here, what's going on here? It's not assignable to the same properties in the base type. That is a promise, is not assigned. So we would need to go into our monitor here. Let's see here. That's a promise of a void. Are we not promising it as a void? So a way we can fix that is literally just doing is this. We'll just say the return type is a promise of unknown. Let's see what's going on here. Undefined or any must return a value type. Okay, so we'll just do it's saying that it is not assignable to the same property in base type. Promise is not assignable to type. Args. Promise of void. So it's trying to promise a void here, but we're not doing that. We can just return null, I believe, or no? Oh, it might just be the null. There we go. That's what's going on. Let me just return here. There we go. That's what's going on. Monitor. That's all set. Let's do our cache now for it. So load monitors is basically the exact same thing as we were doing. So let's get that all figured out. So logger.info loading monitors dot then const pth equals this create path folder path dot monitor folder const files equals globe dot sync and then be pth for let file files const default and that will be mon equals await import and this will be this fixed path file. Okay, const monitor is equals to a new mon as base monitor. There we go. If this monitors dot has monitor, so if not monitor dot name, this monitors dot set monitor dot name and monitor. There we go. And then we'll put in here logger.info successfully loaded this monitors.size monitors. There we go. So we have our loads in, so we're going to go to our index. We're going to include that in await bot cache dot load monitors. Okay. Now we'll go back to our cache and we will handle our monitor now. So we're going to do a try catch here. And then we'll put return null here. Logger dot error. Let monitor equals a new monitor. Or not a new monitor, it'll be this monitors dot get. And now it'll be name. And then what we'll do here is check if monitor exists. So if monitor does not exist, we're going to return and logger.warn monitor name doesn't exist. There we go. If monitor.disabled, we're going to return here, but we'll also put logger.warn monitor name is disabled. Okay, there we go. And then we'll just need to do is await monitor.invoke, and like that. So we have our monitor and our middleware all pretty much figured out. So let's just run it and see if it will come online. So we'll do is our npxcs-node src/index.ts. And if it worked, we should be online. So the first test we're going to do is to make sure we don't have is to make sure that there's no permissions on the command. That means that it should work flawlessly. So we're going to go to our Discord here. We're going to do /ping because that should execute if it worked correctly. And it doesn't look like it wanted to work, but it looks like that there's a problem with our middleware. So command permission does not exist. Let's see what the actual name we called it is, command permissions. That's kind of why we have our warning here to let us know here. So we're going to go to our monitor here, and that's going to be command permissions. That's a good thing to know that is actually working. There we go. Let's make sure it goes online. And it looks like it is. Now let's try again. There we go. So it went through. Perfect. So now let's say if we can't really test with a user, but the user is pretty much going to be the same with the bot. So let's imagine the bot doesn't have any of, like, let's say manage guild. Okay. So let's go into ping and let's include that. So we're going to say this self permissions. And we're going to say manage guild. Okay. There we go. So now we're going to rerun this, and let's make sure that the bot doesn't have the permission of manage guild. So we're going to go into my server settings here, rules. Now I have this bot right here. So I need to go to permissions here, and let's make sure that manage guild is not there, which will be managed server. It doesn't look like it, but I also gave it a new permissions here as well. And it doesn't look like it's also here as well, which is good. So now that that is loaded in and everything, now let's try the command. So this, or it'll be /ping, and look at that. I do not have the correct permissions to do this. I must have the permissions of manage guild. So that is telling us it's working. If we were to do it with a user, it will also work, but I will also leave that for you guys to figure out and see if it works on your own. But now let's talk about task, okay? So let's create our base task real quick. So new file, base task.ts. Export defaults, class base task. So base task is going to work a little bit differently than how we have all of our other classes work. Yes, it's going to be the kind of same layout. However, the problem here is we're actually going to be running the instance inside of our cache. That's basically what we're going to be doing here. So expert class, actually, we don't even need a base task here. We don't need a base class for it. We can just run a function and that will work. So we don't even need this. Let's just do that. That would be a little bit simpler and easier to do. So we'll go into our cache here. Okay, and then we can go up here. We'll just say basically a function that is, we're going to have .args in it. That's any array type. And it'll bring a promise of boolean. There we go. Or actually, yeah, we'll say a boolean because then we can say if it's finished, then we'll return true. Okay, so we have that. So now what we can do here is just create a function called create task. So public create task, and that'll be in here. So this will be task is going to be we'll put the name in. So we'll do name string, and we'll have our task here, which will be this. And that'll be boolean. There we go. So we create a task, okay? And then what we can do here is basically, let's see here, how do we want to do this? Of course, what we're going to do is if um, if not this, and it will say task dot has name, then this task dot set name and task. There we go. So we have that in there, and we can just do is a public start task. Okay, name string. And then what we'll do is let task is equals to this task dot get name. If no task, then we're going to do is logger dot warn, and it will say task name doesn't exist, and then we'll return here. Okay. Actually, we want this to be in a try catch, so let's do that. So I don't know if I explained why we're doing a lot of try catches, but the main reason is just for error handling. It's a good practice of having try catches here and to catch your errors. And the reason why we're also doing it inside of our handle methods is so then if there is something that does happen to the command, it will only happen inside our function, doesn't actually happen to our bot. So that's kind of why we're doing it like this. Okay, now that we have that, we will next do is we'll await task. Okay, and .args. We kind of want to async this too, so we're gonna do async. Got a dot there. There we go. And that's args. Oh, we don't even need to do that, I don't think. Do I? Because we have it in here. So that would actually, I believe that actually executes it. So if we will wait this, it should execute it. Or undefined. We'll find that. We'll try that. So we're gonna go into our ping command, and what we'll do is we're going to do await or not await bot cache dot create task, and it's gonna be time. And what we're gonna do here is async. We're gonna put in CTX. There we go. And it's going to return a true, so we're going to do is we're going to run a set interval, or actually we're going to do a set time out. Okay. And then we're going to do here is return true. And then we'll put, we'll do 5 seconds. There we go. Set interval, we're also going to do here is await CTX dot, we should probably, we'll do command context. So we need to pass in our argument, so we'll do that. But we're going to just say await CTX dot send author hello, or actually we're going to just send it to channel. So we're going to do send to reply hello. There we go. Content. Yeah. Hello. There we go. And it will go to our cache. And inside of here, we also need to pass in our argument. So there we go. Okay. Then we'll go to our ping command. We'll do that. And then what we're going to do is bot cache dot create task. Or not create, we're going to start task. So we're going to start task. And we're going to say time and CTX. Right, and we'll also await this. There we go. And we can't actually do this. We're going to actually send the message to the channel. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now this could break or this could work. There's only one way to find out. Okay, and then we'll do /ping. Okay, I need to fix that. We'll go back to our here. We're going to get rid of this since we know that works. There we go. Make sure it's on mine. There we go. Ping and hello. That was a little bit too quick, but that's totally fine. Let's try 10 seconds and see if that works. Actually, this needs to be inside of here. There we go. And then we will need to async this. There we go. What does that return? It returns a void and milliseconds. Okay. Is it running? Let's find out. It is. So we're going to just do our ping command now. Okay, let's wait 10 seconds and see if it will spring hello onto us. There we go. So we can do hello here. So why are we have a task when we could just do that? Well, here, let me show you how we could also do this. So we have that, and then we can go into our invoke, for example, or not in here, but we can go into, yeah, why not in here? Okay. And we'll just put in here is that. And we can just create our CTX simply by just doing let CTX equals a new command context interaction. There we go. And why is it throwing an error? Oh, we need to say as a command interaction. Okay. So we could do something like that. Let's actually move this into the if here to actually make sure we got that. But we could do something like that, right? And let's reload this. It will first throw an error at us saying, hey, our task is not created yet. However, we can fix that. So what we're going to do is ping, right? It's going to send us pong. And it's going to say task time doesn't exist, but now task time does exist. Now we're just going to do ping again. There we go. And we'll take a look here, and it will say anything. We'll just wait 10 seconds here, and it should send hello to us. There we go. So that's the point of a task, is just to run everything into the background. So you could use this very effectively when you're doing like any kind of chat things. If you're doing like something with the channels when people talk, you can use tasks for that. So yeah, that's all that I have for this episode. It's just talking about middlewares, monitors, and tasks and how to use them. Next episode, we'll probably be working on databases and integrating a economy or money into our bot. Whenever someone sends a message, they'll get money, or if they do a certain action, they'll get money. So that's all I got. I'll see all you guys later.